Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The Ukrainian capital Kyiv has been targeted by further Russian air attacks, described by one official as exceptional in density. Footage filmed overnight showed flashes and explosions over Kyiv's skyline. Ukraine said all 18 missiles were shot down, and footage showed air defences destroying targets over the city. But Russia said its attack, which used drones and missiles, had hit all its targets. Here, still photos showing fire services putting out blazes on several buses that were hit. Moscow has stepped up its air campaign in recent weeks ahead of an expected Ukrainian counteroffensive. 5 men have been found guilty of an audacious jewel heist in the German city of Dresden. The thieves stole precious items worth €113 million from the city's State Museum in 2019. Police recovered many of the jewels, including a diamond-encrusted sword, but it's feared the rest of the looted treasure may never be found. The men, all members of a notorious criminal family network, face sentences of 4 to 6 years in prison. At least 10 people have been killed and up to 30 others are unaccounted for after a blaze broke out overnight at a 4-storey building in downtown Wellington, the capital of New Zealand. Fire and emergency services were called to the Loafers Lodge hostel on Adelaide Road in central Wellington, where a fire started from the top floor. A total of 52 people were taken out of the building and at least 5 were rescued from the roof, but others remain unaccounted for. Talking to a morning news programme, New Zealand Prime Minister Chris Hipkins said there could be more fatalities.
Obviously it's quite confronting and also just to speak to the first responders who are on the scene in terms of what they dealt with when they arrived in the small hours of the morning. Clearly a traumatic situation for them. I know that they'll be feeling this at the moment. Of course, a number of investigations take place after an event such as this. That kicks in automatically, so there's obviously the police, the coroner. There are a range of different investigations that take place.
The United States is urging an investigation by Mali's transitional government into the likely execution of hundreds of villagers. It blames elements of the Malian armed forces in cooperation with Russian private military contractor Wagner Group. A State Department spokesman said that the US was appalled by the disregard for human life during the operation in Mura last year. A probe, it said, should be independent, impartial, efficient, exhaustive and transparent. 2 Egyptian planes carrying aid have landed in Port Sudan as assistance continues pouring into the war-ridden country. The planes were loaded with around 20 tons of medical supplies. The fighting between the army and the paramilitary rapid support forces has caused a humanitarian crisis that threatens to destabilize the region, displacing more than 700,000 people inside Sudan and forcing around 200,000 to flee into neighboring countries. 2 skeletons have been found in Italy's Pompeii, the latest discovery coming from the ruins of the ancient Roman city wiped out by an eruption of the Mount Vesuvius, a volcano nearly 2,000 years ago. Italy's Culture Ministry said the human remains were recovered from the house of the painters at work and are probably of 2 men in their 50s who died in an earthquake that accompanied the eruption. It's thought they were killed not by volcanic ash but by building collapses. The Pompeii site has seen a burst of recent archaeological activity aimed at halting years of decay and neglect. And the actor Sylvester Stallone has announced he and his family are launching a new reality TV show.
This is more of a documentary, so what you see here is what you get.
That's when I knew I wanted to be a boxer.
The girls want his attention.
I want to do something with you. Don't be
Called
jealous.
The Family Stallone, it details daily life of the eccentric film star, his wife Jennifer and his 3 daughters, Sophia, Sistine and Scarlett, in their home in California. Following in the well-trodden steps of other famous families like the Kardashians and the Osbournes, Sylvester says he agreed to film the 8-part reality show to spend more time with his family.
I thought, okay, I'm on the road so much. I probably have been on the road probably 60% of my life. And looked around and said, my God, my daughters are grown up, everything else. And I'm going, wouldn't it be great to just spend some serious time with them where they couldn't escape?
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.